for the city of Saltillo is now in session. At this time, we will have a pledge of allegiance and a prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this day, thankful for the safe weekend that we all had. We want you to be with us. Let us always make the decisions that are reflective of your will. Forgive us for our sins. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Sound like it to me. Okay, at this time, we will proceed with the reading of the minutes by the city recorder.
The Saltillo Board of Aldermen met June 7th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in City Hall for the regular monthly meeting. The meeting was called to order by Mayor Lowry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation was given by Alderman Reeves. In attendance were Mayor Lowry and Alderman Billings, Maynard, Morgan, Reeves, and Wood. The minutes were read with a motion to approve from Alderman Maynard, second motion by Alderman Morgan. The minutes were approved as read. The mayor and board were provided with a copy of the expense and revenue report for May 2022. Old business number 1, siren grant. The siren grant is ongoing. Documentation requesting bids will commence soon. Number 2, neglected properties. The Eanes property as well as Parker property has been cleared. The East property is ongoing. New business number 1, street signs. Hardin County has the capacity to make street signs. Mayor Lowry will contact Hardin County for additional information. Number 2, complaint forms. A complaint form has been designed for use. Citizens may complete the form and return to City Hall for disposition. Number 3, fire department. The markings for the fire chief car has been completed and is ready for use by the fire chief. Number 4, animals in the city limits. Alderman Billings completed additional research and found that as Tennessee is an agricultural state, the Attorney General has made the decision that municipalities cannot regulate farming operations. An exception may be if the animals are in poor health, a nuisance, or not maintained. Attorney Cobb will be asked to review and provide an opinion. Further discussion is tabled until the July 2022 meeting. Number 5, fireworks. Saltillo's annual fireworks display will be held on July 4th. Mayor Lowry has asked Hardin County Sheriff's Office and TWRA for additional assistance during the event. Number 6, Ordinance 2022-04, parking restrictions will be tabled until the next meeting. Number 7, Ordinance 2022-02, Tennessee property tax freeze. A motion was made by Alderman Billings to adopt the property tax freeze. Alderman Wood made a second motion. The motion passed with all aldermen voting yes. Number 8, boat dock repairs. Alderman Maynard submitted a proposal for repairs to the boat dock to the board totaling $9,120.84. General discussion ensued. Alderman Billings, Morgan, and Reeves voted no to the proposal. Alderman Maynard and Wood voted yes. Further discussion was tabled until the July 2022 meeting. Number 9, property tax rate. The State of Tennessee Comptroller's Office sent a recommendation to lower Saltillo's property tax rate from 0.83 to 0.8123. Alderman Maynard made a motion to accept. The motion was rescinded for additional discussion. Alderman Reeves proposed a 41-cent tax rate. Alderman Billings, Maynard, and Wood agreed with the Comptroller's assessment. Alderman Morgan proposed 78 cents. Alderman Reeves made a motion to accept 41 cents for property tax. There was no second. The motion failed. Alderman Morgan made a motion to accept 0.78 for property tax. There was no second. The motion failed. Alderman Billings made a motion to accept the Comptroller's recommendation of 0.8123 cents per 100 of assessed value. Alderman Maynard, Billings, and Wood voted yes. Alderman Reeves and Morgan voted no. The motion passed. Number 10, salary increases. Alderman Reeves made a motion to accept the salary increases. There was no second. The motion failed. Alderman Billings made a motion to accept salary increases except for the fire chief. Discussion included fire chief retaining same salary but allowed for $125 per completed neglected property cases. and fire chief vehicle for use, and includes a second police officer to patrol nights and weekends. Alderman Maynard made a second motion. Alderman Reeves voted no. Alderman Billings, Maynard, Morgan, and Wood voted yes. The motion passed. A motion to suspend the meeting with a continuance on July 14th was made by Alderman Billings, with a second motion by Alderman Maynard. The motion passed and the meeting was suspended until July 14th, 22 at 6 p.m. The Saltillo Board of Aldermen reconvened on June 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in City Hall. The meeting was called to order by Mayor Lowry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation was given by Alderman Reeves. In attendance were Mayor Lowry and Alderman Billings, Maynard, Morgan, Reeves, and Wood. New business number 1, banners for downtown area. Alderman Billings provided the board with a proposal to update the banners and provide pole banners for the downtown area. A general discussion ensued. This item will be tabled until the July 2022 meeting. Number 2, boat dock repairs. Alderman Maynard provided an updated quote with discounts. Repairs included replacing the handrail, damaged boards, and loose boards. Alderman Billings will install the fire hose around the dock. A motion was made by Alderman Maynard to make the repairs from the provided estimate, with a second by Alderman Wood. Alderman Billings, Morgan, and Reeves voted no. Alderman Wood and Maynard voted yes. The motion failed. Number 3, parking ordinance. Alderman Reeves made a motion to approve ordinance 2022-04 parking restrictions. Alderman Billings made a second motion with all aldermen voting yes. The motion passed. Number 4, budget. Individual line items for revenues and expenditures were discussed, with emphasis on expanding yearly cost. A previous motion was accepted to set the tax rate at .8123. Upon completion of the budget discussion, Alderman Reeves made a motion to accept ordinance 2022-03 for the 2022-2023 operating budget. A second motion was made by Alderman Morgan. There were no objections. The motion passed. With no additional discussion, no additional business to discuss, a motion was made by Alderman Reeves and seconded by Alderman Wood to adjourn the meeting. The motion carried and the meeting was adjourned by Mayor Lowry.
You've heard the reading of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as read?
On the old business, the east, is that?
Caprice East.
That's her last name.
That's her last name.
Yeah. I've got a correction. Page 2, new business, item 2. I didn't say I would install the fire hose. I mean, I don't mind helping somebody do that, but I did acquire some fire hose to put around the job. So I'll be glad to help
Okay.
do it, but.
I'll get somebody to do that.
Okay, so, with those, corrections, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as read? Okay.
Make a motion.
Motion by Alderman Reeves, further discussion? Discussion none. We'll vote to approve the minutes. Alderman, Gregg,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Reeves,
Yes.
and Wood. All right, so the minutes are approved as read. I couldn't get Gregg's name out. I don't know if I want to call him Bivens or Billy.
Hey, I've been trying a lot worse than that.
Bivens or Billy, but I apologize. But anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna be pretty brief tonight. We're just gonna cover some things and we'll just move on and try to get this meeting a little quicker than we normally do. We've got a beer board meeting after this meeting, so it'll be due to complaints, and we'll try to address that very quickly. And I want to say to the audience, the board did bring to my attention about people intervening when we are having meetings and stuff. So what I'm gonna say to the audience is, at the end of the meeting, even though we don't have an agenda for the ordinance, at the end of the meeting, I will give anybody that want to speak a couple of minutes to speak. But as far as intervening while we're doing business, then that won't be tolerated. So if you got anything to say, just write it down and hold it to the end of the meeting. And if you raise your hand, I'll recognize you and you can speak. Okay? Okay, so starting with the old business and old business being new business in the last meeting, the siren grant, we're gonna bid the sirens the 18th of July. Okay, that's when the contractors will be here. Southwest will be here, and anybody that wanna come is welcome to come. You can sign the list, and what they're gonna do is bid to see who the lowest contractor, what contractor will receive the contract for installing 2 sirens for the city of Saltillo. Okay, the sirens will be compatible with 911 as well as the weather service, which meaning that we'll be able to, 911 at Savannah will be able to set the sirens off. We'll be able to set them off manually, or a lot of times the weather service, when they send it through 911, they can set them off. So they'll be compatible with that, and with that, I think that our city will be in pretty good shape for emergencies. We've got a real nice safe shelter, hold 265 people, and it's at the school up there, so, and it's always open. And we did have to put cameras up there because we leave it open all the time, and people was damaging the towel holders and the soap dishes, and children running around, dogs running around, so we had to install cameras. We do have 1 camera inside the safe shelter. When you're inside there, you are on camera, okay? And they run all the time. So, but like I say, by us leaving it open all the time, that's something that we had to do to procure to make sure that damage was at a minimum. So the safe shelter is open all the time. Now, when we get the sirens installed, I think that we'll be in pretty good shape. But they do encourage all of you with smartphones and radios to get the apps to where you can download the weather service yourself, which is more reliable, they say, than the sirens. Okay, so with that said, July the 18th, they hadn't told me the time as to what time they'd be here, but we will have the bidding for that on July 18th. Okay, so the deputy, the fire chief, which is deputy fire marshal, he's been working on these dilapidated properties. We've had 2 or 3 that's been cleaned up, and maybe one, Miss Cisa, thinks she's negotiating to sell hers. But I guess you still working on some, Chief, you still working on some of these? Okay, so.
How many more do we have going on?
I've got 1 at the moment, concentrating on.
Okay. So maybe you got any kind of ideas for the time frame for when you're gonna submit that?
There in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so by the next city meeting, he should be able to, he'll be able to tell us that. Of course, I don't like to just out target somebody as far as property, but he knows what he's working on, and the alderman, if you need to, he can respond to you as to him working on particular property. Okay, so we're gonna move right along on the street signs of Hardin County. I'm on our street signs. I said that I would start through with the county trying to get that, and by the next meeting I will. I know I keep telling, but we got a lot working right now. We had the road payments, the ditches and all that, so it's, but now the next thing I'll try to address is working on the street signs. So at the next meeting, I should have at least some presentation to the board as to whether we're gonna get our signs made with the help of the county highway department, which they make signs, or if we're gonna have to purchase them from a vendor. So I'll have that information. Complaint forms, okay, so we got the complaints forms. We have had a few complaints. We've addressed those complaints. So I feel that the parties in the complaints, what they complained about was justified without the complaints on the beer board, which we'll address during the beer board meeting. Okay, so y'all have any discussion, anything about where I went? Sometimes I talk fast. Okay, then I'm gonna keep going. Okay, and then again, the fire chief's car has been marked. The fire chief has access to it if he wants, when he go to make these calls on dilapidated property, or if he needed to attend whatever, then he is ready to go. Animals in the city limits, I did briefly talk with Mr. Carbon. I did briefly kind of told him what Greg had found, and true that we are an agriculture state. People are allowed to have a cow, horse, but now as far as hogs, the stench and stuff like that, we can regulate it. If there is an animal that people got animals, 4 or 5 horses, 4 or 5 cows in a small space that's causing harm, or the animal is suffering from a small environment, then that's where we have the Humane Society. So what we'd have to do is call them and let them know, and then they have the ability to come down and correspond with the big, as far as the animal is concerned. But if it's creating a stench or creating a loud noise in the city, then we can, acknowledge that, okay? So, we did have the fireworks, it was very exciting, I'll say that. But I think most of the people had a good time and enjoyed it, so, I'm gonna leave that at that. And, the parking ordinance, of course, we passed it, tax freeze, we passed it, the boat dock repairs, I know we had rejected, I think, most of that. Do we want to address that pretty quickly? Ms. Maynard had, gave us a bid as far as replacing some of the old boards on the dock, putting the fire hose around it, putting corners on it, putting boat tie downs on it, and maybe replacing a board or two on the walkway. Ms. Maynard, did you want to reiterate that bid?
I mean, I can. I didn't bring my paperwork with me because it got turned down again last month, but I think it was at about, I can't remember exactly, one at about $6,000, I think is what it was. When they took us down, and I mean, I guess we just, if we're gonna do any repairs to it, maybe what we need to do is just set a budget for what that would be, and then I'll just work with whatever the budget is and get what the worst part of it is done, or what we feel like is the most important part of maintaining the dock.
What I can do is, I guess if you still wanna pursue that, then I will table that until the next meeting, cause, I think this is a board of accuracies and we need to know, I mean, if you still wanna pursue it, I don't think that we should go down there.
Needs to be pursued.
Let me, I don't think we should go down there and just do part, budget this, budget that. If we're gonna fix it, we fix it, be done with it. But we need an accurate cost. And, I know the board voted down last time, but I think you did go get some corrections on the
Yeah, that was
finances.
on the new business on the second meeting, and that's really why I didn't bring it, because it got voted down again. That's why I didn't bring it with me, because of that. So maybe the third time's a charm, but.
Well, I think the last time was because I think you had, actually in count, you said it was 101 boards, but you had estimated costs for 200 boards. So I think it was just more so of getting an accurate financial count as to what it was gonna actual cost.
That's what I brought back the second time.
With 101 boards?
No, yeah, with the 101 boards and not the 200 boards, but we had the ones on the bottom also.
I didn't see the one that said 101 boards when you brought it back the second time. I thought it was just a reduction in cost on them repairing it and, not putting all the boards down. But anyway, do you want me to table that, do you wanna?
Yes, it'd be nice to, I mean, it
Okay.
needs some
I'm gonna
repairs.
table that to the next meeting, and then, if we just, I mean, if it's gonna be 101 boards and 15 2x6s and the corners and the dock, if we had an accurate cost, then the board would probably be more efficient on how they wanna handle it, and they might do it in 2 stages, but I'm not here to speak for the board, so I'm gonna table that until the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move right along again, and, the property tax rate, which it was, I think we had voted 83.83% in the initial voting, and, Controller's Office recommended that we lower that to 81.23 or 33?
2-3.
23. So the board lowered the tax rate to 81.23, that was passed. Also, we still getting a lot of complaints about activities at night and stuff like that, so we did vote that perhaps, we did vote the salary for another officer, but we didn't hire one, and we won't do that at this point right now, but, we've got officers looking to be hired, and we'll wait till the next, perhaps we'll table this here until the next meeting, and we'll just see how, important it is for us to install that officer, and if so, we'll try to do that in November, if you decide to. Okay, banners on the downtown area, Alderman Billings had gave us a cost on the small banners that's, hanging on the post, the lighted posts coming into town, to replace those, and also banners for the light poles rather than the flag flags. We got the flags up there now, they're all torn, so we're gonna have to buy new flags if we're gonna acknowledge, Veterans Day and those are such to where we have to use the flags. So Alderman Billings, did you still have that bid?
I gave it to I gave it to you, I think, last meeting,
Right.
and I didn't bring an extra copy tonight.
Okay, it was roughly, I think to do the pole banners, which was putting, the brackets on each pole for the flag banners, and then these others replacing, if I ain't mistaken, it was roughly $5,000, am I not right?
Yeah, it was a little above the threshold of, what the board must approve, and, there was a little bit of discussion of that. The design has not been picked out, but, two vendors were reached out to, and one vendor just, you can't hardly get them to call you back or anything, but, flag and banner is the one that sent the bid, and it's a little bit more than, I think it's like $5,300, something like that.
Okay,
And that's 14 flag type banners go on the light pole, and then there was, I think we did 18 of the small banners that go on the little street lights that are on the sidewalk. That way we have some to change it out to.
okay, do we wanna entertain that, or do we wanna table it to?
I think, either we table it, I think would be a good idea too. I thought we had mentioned about, maybe looking at the local guy that could do those for about half the price.
I don't think he can do the banners.
No, well, he said he could. Did he say he could, Teresa?
The ones that go on the light poles going to, on the sidewalk, he can do those.
But anyway, I just make a motion that we table that and then get more information about that. That's okay?
Well, board, I have to have, yeah, I know you're
I'll
speaking
second
to
it. I don't have an issue, yeah.
you. Okay, Greg, do you wanna talk to that guy now? I'm gonna tell you now, we wanna make sure that, I know this is a local guy and I know he's in the bottom of the Holland House. But we wanna make sure that the material used is equivalent to what we got on there, cause those been on there for probably 8 or 9 years. And we're
They've been
gonna-
needed replaced for about 5.
Well, I don't think so.
Well,
They still
I don't
look
mind
good.
going back and talking to them, but I think everyone should realize one of the biggest expenses of this is not the banner part itself.
It's the brackets.
It's the big old brackets that are a specialty product that you just can't get a lot of places, the way they hang. But if you've been through Somerville, if you go in the next few months, it looks fantastic, cause they've got exactly what we've been talking about. Maybe a different design, but it's the same deal. And they've got them everywhere, but we're not trying to be like Somerville, but I'm just saying, if you go through there, you see what it is. But I don't mind going back and talk to him, see what he can do, and find out about it.
Okay, and, oh, you talking about the guy down here in town?
Yeah, that's what.
But I'm concerned, does he
Well,
provide
as
the
far as the
bracket?
quality of the
You need-
material,
yeah,
he can
quality
take
of
the
material,
proposal we
right.
have, and he can do a side by side with the material and what he can print, what he can't print.
Right.
I think that may be the issue. I don't wanna speak for his business, but I talked to him and we'll bring something back to the table.
Okay, can you do that by the next meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think what we was gonna try to do is to make sure that if we was gonna do it and we are financially able, then we do it, so when we have our river day, that the town looks pretty good, so. But, the thing about it is, we'll try to address that, we should have plenty of time, and we'll address it in August, cause it ain't till the end of September, so we should have time to, if we decide to purchase them and get them up. Okay, is there any other discussion on what we discussed as far as the banners and the boat dock? We're gonna table to the next meeting. Okay, now, the street payment, we've had the streets, a lot of the streets paved, had them fixed, and also culverts put in, ditches cleaned out, and I think they did a pretty good job. It actually cost us right at $40,000, okay? But we hadn't done nothing in several years, and it was needed, especially in the curves where people come out from the side street. So I thought that was a pretty good job. I thought perhaps they was a little bit high, to be honest with you. And Dwayne, my cousin over there, he had some paving done at his house on this thing, and when I looked at his, and his was $26,000, I said, we got a good deal. Because they didn't do a whole lot that I seen for the 26. But I think they really done a good job on ours. Okay, the ARPA funds, you know, we got 76,000, I believe, last year, and we're on target to get another 76,000 this year, but we hadn't got it yet, but we're on top of it as far as filing the paperwork that we need and, attending the webinars online to make sure that we can get that money, so, but we hadn't got it, we're hoping for it, we just hope it go through so we can have that money. As far as the ARPA funds on hand, I believe we still have, Vanita, 38,000.
39 or something. 30, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right, 38,218.92.
Okay, 38,218.92 is what we have from the last fund. I think we had talked about air conditioners, but we'll just go into that a little more. Since we got a beer board meeting after this, we'll just, talk about if we wanna get those air conditioners for the gym at this point. Before winter time get, and then they'll be out, you can't buy them.
Yeah.
You know, so we're gonna get 4 for the gym. Those are old, and I don't know what we'll do with the ones up there work. They're just old, you know, you might wanna donate them to people in the community that ain't got one, or if you wanna sell them, I don't know what you wanna do, we'll just wait till we get them out. Okay, any other discussion before I move on? Then we're gonna go on with, the budget. Okay, I think all of you have budget 2022-05. We did pass your budget, but, the budget that we passed did not have the tax appropriations in it. Controller's office said we had to include that, so Vanita went back and included the monies that would be received from taxes. So, we had to redo the ordinance on the budget to include that and get it back to them. They said they would approve it, but that's on contingent that we get it back to them within the next few days. So do we have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-05, which is the budget ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Alderman Reed, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Woods, discussion. Alderman, Billings.
Yes,
I can't say your name.
Yeah.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Maynard,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes, sir.
Wood.
Yes.
Okay, so, Benita, I'll need to get that signed for you, and we got that, okay, on, general maintenance and the funds that we use in general maintenance, I've instructed to be them, we have to divide it into 3 departments: general fund, street fund, and parks, to where we can balance what we pay when we're having work done. Now, actually, every day the maintenance men work, they have a worksheet, and they write on that worksheet where they work on the streets, or where they work at the park, or where they work at City Hall. And by doing that, when they submit it to Vanita, she knows how to pay them, okay? But I've instructed her that the most of the pay, 40% will be from general, 35% from streets, and 25% from parks. Okay, that kind of balances out to where we can still maintain a working fund in these departments, which we can always transfer from general to street and parks, but we can't transfer backwards.
Right.
So, I think that would be appropriate at this time. We'll just see how that works for the next few months, and then we'll move on. Okay, River Day, we projected through the River Day committee, the actual projection of River Day cost is gonna be about $7,500. Okay, so, and that's with the bands, that's with the entertainment, that's with everything. That's not counting, that's ad books, that's everything. So, we do make money off the ad books, we do make money off of, sponsors. And, so there will be some money come back in, but do we also get a grant through our county that helps us about $4,000? So the thing about that is, do we wanna go ahead and proceed with River Day at this cost?
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? No second?
Well,
Okay.
can you repeat that one more time?
The River Day Committee, I believe you're on that committee, right?
I am on that committee,
Okay.
what I'm asking about is that, you said 7,500?
That's what I said.
Yeah, and I think.
When you count your porta potties, when you count your
No, I'm not
entertainment.
questioning you, I understand.
Yeah, but you just wanted to explain when you count your porta potty, I'm outside independent, and what I projected to the River Day Committee when I'm sitting here is that mayor, and I can't make an answer as far as the River Day Committee, and I have to present it to the board. So, with everything that they have approached me with it cost as far as the bands, and I don't know if you have that data, you haven't got that data with you, do you?
I don't.
Okay, as far as the bands, as far as the porta potties, as far as overhead costs, $7,500.
Yeah, so I think if make sure I'm interpreting what you said just then. So we are basically voting on the budget to be set at $7,500 for River Day.
That's right.
It may take all of that, it may not,
That's
but we
correct.
also have a revenue stream coming back in from other events that, like the vendors paying their part back
That's
into
right.
that fund, right?
And we get
Yeah.
sponsors too,
Right.
people sponsor, they
So
send
that's
in
just
money.
a budget.
This is a budget,
Yeah.
that's correct. Now, I mean, initially it might be $7,500, but once the sponsor money come in, once
Yeah.
all that come in, then it'll be deducted off of this, and
Right,
then we'll know
right.
how much.
Yeah.
The reason I did is because I thought that we set the budget and here, it's saying 6,000, but then actual is $8,200. That's why I was questioning the 7,500.
We budget,
Because of actual what's on here.
I don't recall us budgeting for River Day in our budget.
Yes, sir.
Sure, where is that at? Where you find that at?
Page 4.
Page
Page
4
four.
of the 22-23 budget.
And I think also that budget was determined before I think the last meeting. wasn't
Well,
it?
it's more money than what,
Yeah.
I mean.
Now, where you see River Day at on page
Fundraisers
4?
for River Day,
Special events, right back here.
River Day expense, we've got 6,000.
Well,
That's all, I'm just asking, you know, the expense the year before was 8,201, and then we got 6,000, so did we spend $8,200 the year before?
well, I think part of the issue on page 1 of our actual statement, we don't make a decision on revenue streams. And that's what we had in that, if I'm not mistaken. River Day revenue stream, we've got 4,500 on that. So we don't make a budget on that, on revenue. We only make budgets on
the
expenditure.
expenditures, that's correct.
So that's, but as far as the other budget, this
Yeah,
is,
we do make them.
this was like a worksheet for our budget, what we have in our hand, it was submitted, I believe.
I mean, perhaps we did spend 6,000 after we got the revenue back in. You see, I mean, you see it.
Here
right
it is,
here.
right here.
So that one line is the
So,
2021 budget
And that was
of
actually
$8,200.
for 22, 23.
Well, that,
It says,
So
yeah,
It
but
was
that-
actual cost.
it's just estimated cost. Now, I mean, this is what I mean, to me, it's gonna be at least 7,500.
our part after all the revenue brought up from the county, the four from the county,
It's 7,500 once we get what the county gonna give us, once we get what sponsors gonna give us. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna take off to 7,500.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, the last River Day meeting we had, we broke them all down into 7,500, not counting any return to income, because you can't figure that because you don't know what
You
it's
don't
gonna
know
be.
what you're gonna get. But if we don't get nothing, it's gonna cost 7,500.
That's right, that's right.
Right.
I think that's clear.
So, do we have a
We have a
a
motion
motion
by
on
Alderman
the table
Green.
that we are establishing a budget for River Day of $7,500.
That's correct. Do we have a second?
I second.
Discussion. Further discussion. You got any more discussion on it? I mean, if we don't do the 7,500, that means they're gonna have to cut something off of River Day, or we ain't gonna be able to have River Day. It's just all, it's too
Well,
much.
we still should have some revenue coming back in. You know,
Oh, yeah.
that's what, of course, that's what our hope is, that we have a lot of people show up, they all have a good time, and they spend a little money, buy some ads, be part of the program, and, you know, this community celebration. So,
Okay,
yes,
Alderman
Motion.
Billings.
yeah,
Yes.
I vote yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Alderman Maynard.
Yes.
Alderman Reeves?
Yes, sir.
Alderman Wood?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's understood 7,500, but like I say, we have to project that, but that's not counting what we'll have coming back in. So. And we might collect more than 7,500 in the end, you know, we might have a profit, actually.
Yeah, well, our hope is that we don't end up in the red, number one, and that we have enough money to fund that activity for the future year.
Okay, actually, if you'll look in, let's see what we got in Riverdale right now. Without what the county gives, without what we've got $5,118.87.
There you go.
That's what we've got in Riverdale right now. So, you know, if they give us a donation, if they give us a grant, and then we get the others, then I think we'll be fine. Okay, so we're gonna, the 7,500 for Riverdale, we're projecting, and if it don't cost that much, or we get over that, that's gonna be good. Okay, basically, we'll just go over the account balances, and, does the board have anything else we need to discuss with the journal meeting? If not, we're gonna go to the beer board meeting, and we'll adjourn. Does you have any other discussion on city meeting? Okay, on the general fund, account balance is $145,729, fire $3,089, parks $3,067, Riverdale $5,118, street aid $19,189, ARP 8 funds $38,000, total city funds $214,414. Now in 2008, we only had $62,000 in everything. So we've come a long ways, and that's including developing the park, fixing, this street fund, that's after, we need to vote on the street repair. Forgot about that. I think I called every one of you on the phone and asked you to approve having the pavers to come in and do the streets. So they came in, the initial bid was $38,980 some dollars. They put in a couple extra covers, done a little extra, and the total was $40,000. What, Benita? Do we get that on there?
Yeah, it's on there, but it's we paid part of it out of general and the
We
other
took
half
part out, half
streets.
out of general and half out of streets. We had $42,000 in the street fund, did not want to deplete the street fund. So I believe I took $20,000 out of the street
Yeah,
fund.
that was a contract labor for streets.
Right, and then I did $20,000 out of general
Yeah,
fund.
right.
So, do we have a motion to complete the street repair?
22,240, I'm sorry, that's what came out of general.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Motion, Alderman Reeves, have a second.
A second.
Alderman Morgan. Alderman Billings.
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Maynard.
Yes.
Reeves.
Yes, sir.
And Woods.
Yes.
Okay, so, as the mayor, I can only spend $4,999. Anything else, I have to have approval of the board. But, I went ahead and sought approval of the board, not discussing anything, just say, this is what it is. The contractor said, if we don't do it now, it's gonna be about 4 months before they can get to us. And believe it, I had called Redmond Asphalt, S&S Asphalt, the guy in Savannah, can't think of his name. But anyway, never did get no response, so we called Wade out of Bass Spring, no response. We called Wade out of Paris, Tennessee, and they came and done the work. Okay, so that's the initial state of that. Okay, so do we have any other further business with the city meeting at this time? If not, then I give the audience opportunity for a 2-month response. It's not just with the beer.
This pertains to mention of the police, the night police that you guys pushed off to November. It's imperative you guys hire that now. The problems that happen here at night, there's nobody to call. We tried to call here this last weekend, all we get is voicemail. And when you call the county, they're like, well, we don't have anyone in position because Saltillo is a town, so they can't be here. You really need to put this at the top of the list. There's all kinds of things going on, which are more appropriate for the beer board, but there's things going on and there's nobody to call. And we're out there on our own dealing with this stuff. I would really emphasize, you need a night police officer here immediately.
Okay, is there anything else? Anybody else? May?
Yeah, I would just like to say that, the senior citizen will be entertaining sort of senior citizens down here the 20th. You can make a showing. We appreciate it.
Okay.
July 20th?
July 20th.
What time did you be here?
Well, I told them I open up at 9:30, so
Okay.
they
Yeah.
can come and spend the day with us.
Miss Tammy Martin, she's over the senior citizen at Sardis. She does a real good
Mhm.
job, and they really reach out to other communities when they can, so
So I
she's
might,
a real good
I'll
lady,
be,
so.
y'all come on out and help, 'cause
Yeah, Mr. May and Mayor, I just heard on TV, there's a grant coming out, up to $8,000 for some 100 Tennessee senior citizen centers, so maybe we can look at.
Okay. Good deal. All right, if there's no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, meeting adjourned. Okay, now are you ready, Benita? You ready there? Okay. Now, at this time, the city of Saltillo, we have a beer board business, so the beer board, which is consists of the Alderman board, is gonna meet at this time. And the purpose of the meeting is complaints filed, on the Little Red Shed, by Mr. Drew Barker, Miss Jennifer Barker, and Mr. Tim Little. Okay, all the board members, I think, you had packets that contained the complaints. So, our ordinance state, let me get the ordinance here. Okay. Now, have you all had a chance to read your packet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just to clarify real quick, our ordinance states that, in order for a business to sell beer on the premises, to drink beer on the premises, which we control, it has to be a restaurant. Okay, we can't issue a bar and grill license, we can't issue a sports bar license. In order for it to sell on premises consumption, it has to be a restaurant. A restaurant is defined as a public place which is kept, used, maintained, advertised, and held out to the public as a place where meals are served, where meals are actually and regularly served, which is provided and equipped with adequate sanitation facilities and seating capacity of at least 25 people at tables, and have a sufficient number of employees, prepare, cook, and suitable serve food for the guests. Okay, the beer permit owners are supposed to every 3 months supply, with the city a, report that shows that 51% of their sales is food versus alcohol. That's just only thing we can do. Now, if you'll look back, you've read your complaints. And the complaints that I think that we're for reading is due to loud noise, not closing, at an appropriate time as recorded by the ordinance, and, loitering and intimidation on the premises, outside the premises, should I say. Okay, so now violations of a beer board ordinance would be, and I just kind of marked through the ones that pertain to the complaints, which would be 3, allow any loud, unusual, or obnoxious noise to emanate from his premise. Allow drunken persons to loiter about the premises. Fail to have his place of business cleared of all customers by 12:30. Allow any person to consume beer while in a motor vehicle parked on the premises. Allow assaults, fighting, damaged property, and breach of the peace occurring on or in the premises where beer is sold. Okay, so those are some of the rules that perhaps could be violated. If you look on 8.2.12.3, now that tells us what our responsibility is concerning complaints. Complaints filed against any permit holder for the purpose of suspending or revoking such permit shall be made in writing and filed with the board. Okay, last Friday I met with the premises owner, I met with the people, the complainees, and it wasn't successful. Actually, they just didn't get along at all, and the complainees wanted it to come before the board. So At that point, it was out of my hands or the chief of police, so we had to bring it before the board. Now, 8-12, the beer board shall have the power to revoke or suspend any beer permit issued under the provisions of this chapter when the holder thereof is guilty of making a false statement or representation in his application or violate any of the provisions of this chapter. However, no beer permit shall be revoked or suspended until a public hearing is held by the board after reasonable notice to all the known parties in interest. Revocation or suspension procedures may initiated by the chief of police or by any member of the beer board. Okay, so now you have viewed the complaints, and at this time, if we feel that it's a valid complaint, then what we will need to do is consider it a valid complaint, and we'll need to give notice to the complainees as well as to the premises owner and set a hearing date for them. So, and also it states that notice, I'll go to 4, when the beer board shall have reason to believe that any permit holder shall have violated any of the provisions of this chapter or any of the provisions of the State Beer Act, the board is authorized in its discretion to notify the permittee of said violations and to cite said permittee by writing notice to appear and show cause why his permit should not be suspended or revoked for such violations. Said notice to appear and show cause shall state the illegal violations charged and shall be served upon the premises in either by registered letter or by a member of the police department. The notice shall be served upon the permittee at least 5 days before the date of the hearing. Okay, so you've heard and you've read. I'll give all of you a copy of this, and I've also give you a copy of the noise ordinance and the complaint forms. And I believe the county sheriff's department came out one time, and I give you a copy of what they found.
And then we got that today.
And then we had another complaint filed tonight. These other 2 complaints that brought about this meeting is by Mr. Tim Little and Ms. Jennifer Barker, and tonight we still have another complaint by Mr. Drew Barker. And I think that's why, I think our town, I know Mr. Barker's concerned where he lives, but I want all of you to know that they're having issues with the Little Red Shed. They live across from the Little Red Shed. But as far as our city is concerned, we're in pretty good shape. But we don't have any officer working at night. The Little Red Shed opens on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe. So those are the point of complaints. But we only got Stephen as our officer. We got the option to hire another officer in the future. We do we request assistance from the county, the highway patrol, etc. But like I say, we are limited to our resources. We're improving, but I don't think we're going to be able to have a police officer 24/7. I don't know that we're going to be able to do that, because if we hire another officer, it's going to be based on a 30-hour limit too. But we'll have 2, and then he will be working some nights. But as far as just being there to patrol every night, I don't think that we're going to be able to afford that. So now I'll open the board up for discussion.
You wanna start?
Greg?
Well, I was curious, I do know that the police took a memo from the complaint. Has the Little Red Shed been cited for any noise ordinance, or for, I mean, have they received a citation from any police department or anything?
No.
So what we would need to do tonight, if the board individually or we vote, if we have accepted these complaint forms and the process that's been gone so far, but what we would need to decide tonight is if we want to move it on to a hearing process. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
So we're not here to discuss that. We're just here to say, we hear what the problem is. We see what the situation seems to be, and so are we going to proceed with a hearing?
If there's a valid complaint, we have a hearing. To me, that's an easy decision. these are valid complaints.
Well, I think we need to cite specifically what the complaint is by this board. Are we citing a specific noise ordinance, or are we citing
Well,
the beer board, or?
here's the,
He read the ones I think that he thought we would be citing,
which is,
I think.
the ones I read that I feel that are pertaining to violation of the ordinance now, I mean, you know,
It's
be
on,
it that it is number 3, allowing any loud, unusual, or obnoxious noises to emanate from his premises. Now, that's talking about the,
What page are you on? Tell him what
Well,
page
see,
you're on.
that-
page 5.
Yeah, that's in the noise ordinance and the beer ordinance, so we're
That's
just
it.
gonna put
This,
that
I'm
in
reading the beer ordinance, I'm not reading the noise ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, this is just the beer ordinance, it's all that we're concerned with right now. So on page 5, number 3, okay, and then, that's what the complainees are saying, is that, there's like, they can hear the music in their house and they can't sleep, they can't rest because the music. And when they look out their window doors, they see, loud drunken persons to loiter about his premises. I think that's on the last one you got here today. Also fail to have his place of business cleared of all customers by 12:30 a.m. Actually, the business should be closed at 12, and no one should be on the premises by after 12:30 unless it's the business owner cleaning it up, and the doors have to be locked. Nobody can be inside. Okay, no patrons, should I say, can be inside. Okay, allow any person to consume beer while in a motor vehicle or parked on his premises. I think you see that on the last complaint, that people drinking outside. Allow fighting, damaging property, and breaches of the peace occurring or on or in premises where beer is sold. I think you'll find in the complaint too where they, I think they're verbally arguing back and forth from the premises with the landowners across the road. So,
And then that one, this one here.
what is that?
I was gonna say, I think that the,
Well, urinating in public, that would still fall under, the premises.
I think under our peace and quiet ordinance that we have in Saltillo too, the first paragraph says, whereas no person shall disturb, tend to disturb.
What are you reading?
She's looking at the noise ordinance.
The noise ordinance, right here, the first
Right.
paragraph.
Well,
And-
we're enforcing the beer ordinance right now, which it does contain, you're the beer board right now.
Okay.
So, I gave you that note ordinance just to kind of give you a variation to see what it consists of, but if you'll read 3, I think that tells you the same thing, number 3 on page 5.
Yeah.
well, it's, page 5, 8-211. There are, 19 things stated, but,
All of them don't pertain
all
to
of
the
them
complaint.
pertain to the complaint.
So tonight, what you guys need to do is you can either, the thing about it is, as far as I can see, is we've got the complaints. I think you're gonna have to, as a board, address the business of the complaints. And, I think if you'll read down here, it says, that, if you'll read number 4, after complaint, notice to appear content service when the board shall have reason to believe that any permit holder shall have violated any of the provisions of this chapter or any of the provisions of the State Beer Act. The board is authorized in its discretion to notify the permittee of said violations and to cite said permittee with written notice to appear and show cause why his permit shall not be suspended or revoked for such violations. So that's pretty explanatory.
Let me ask you just a quick question here. I thought I heard you read something earlier. So if the owners of Little Red Shed are cited and asked to appear before the board, they may continue selling beer and doing their regular operation until such time.
That's correct.
They're hearing, okay,
That's right. And once you have a hearing and you decide that, and now it does have penalties other than revocation or suspension. It's got monetary, things on down. If you look at 8213, civil penalties in lieu of revocation or suspension. So the thing about it is, you got options as to, if you find the business guilty, you got options as to what can be done. But now,
But tonight, all we have to do is decide
if you wanna, you're gonna have a hearing. If you don't have a hearing, then you're dismissing the complaints, basically.
So what, as I read it, what would happen is that we would decide, like I started with a while ago, which specific items they would be cited for. A letter would be written from the
That's right.
board.
And it will
It would be
consist
mailed
of
to-
what they're,
Yeah.
on the letter, it'll have what
Yeah.
they're cited for,
Right.
the complaints.
And then it would demand their appearance
That's
of
correct.
the owner of the beer license to appear
That's,
before this board.
that's correct. That is correct.
and then that gives them time to defend that, or to hear that side of the story, and then with the, complainants be at that meeting as well, I'm sure.
Well, we've got their complaint,
Oh, so they wouldn't need to be
so
there.
they wouldn't have to be there, you know? I mean, there's just a public meeting, so.
Yeah, I
no
know,
law
you don't
against them
keep
being
anybody
there.
off, yeah.
But they can be there, but we have the complaint, and they might, I don't know if they wanna come and hear what it is, but the thing about it is, when you got a complaint like this, and we got to acknowledge it, now, I've asked Stephen to, between now, I mean, he went by there last Thursday night, I think he sat at Handy Corner, but he didn't hear music, he said he went by the Little Red Shed about 11:30, and they was closing, but now that was on a Thursday night. But then again, I think Saturday morning, I think your wife called me again, demanding that the police be set out there at night, you know, and stuff like that, which, I didn't respond to that because I mediated last Friday, and once she stated, well, that she wanted the beer board to handle it, then I'm just gonna wait and see what you guys say, and, then I'll instruct the police as such. Okay?
Let me ask you another question, since you mentioned that, so on this attachment one, I take this was written by our police
That
officer,
is
Stephen
correct,
Gray.
yes.
And about the, fifth or sixth line down, it says, issue between the parties, he met with them to see if the issue could be resolved, but the issues were not resolved.
That's correct.
So, there was an attempt made, I think, for y'all to meet and everything, it just,
Well,
it didn't work out.
Stephen and I wanted to mediate it between the beer on to where we wouldn't have to go through this
Right.
hearing and stuff, but like I say, it didn't pan out good, and the complaintees requested that it go before the board, so legally, regardless of us trying to mediate it, if that's their request, then in our ordinance, it has to go before the board, so if you feel that, it's a legitimate complaint, we need to set a hearing, then we need to set a hearing date. And like I say, now, it don't have to be next week, but I'm sure these people are concerned. But it don't have to be next week, we just gotta make sure that he gets a letter 5 days before the meeting, whenever we set the meeting, you know?
Well, wouldn't it be in everyone's best interest for the sooner the better? I mean, for his interest, for their interest, you know,
Well, like I say, that's a
I
board
mean, if
decision.
I were the business owner, you know, I would wanna keep the thing, I think, on,
Well, I know I come through
Right.
there 2 straight weekends leaving firework tents about 12:15. I've not seen any life at the Red Shed, but our job tonight's not to determine who's right or wrong, it's to determine if these are valid complaints. And if they're valid complaints, we set a hearing. Per what you just read, Mayor.
That's right.
Yeah, this ain't decide who's guilty or not guilty, it just, these folks have if you got a complaint, it's valid, I mean,
Well, that's why we got the complaints form, because you know, when you get a phone call
Well, you've got a
or
police
somebody saying
report.
word, yes, and then we got a narrative,
Got another.
you got the narrative from the Saltillo police too, right?
Yes.
Yes, he
Okay,
does.
and then you got the Hardin County Police report, and you got the noise ordinance, the beer ordinance, and the 3 complaint forms. Okay, so,
If these folks say they seen somebody urinating in the parking lot, I mean, who are we to say they didn't? So at that point, you gotta call a hearing.
well, and it's obvious that the road has been, I mean, that's very obvious even now, you know,
Okay,
black
so-
marks are all over the place, and I mean,
and you know, they did, I'll say this, they did have some video, and I didn't have them send it to me, I had to send it to the police. And, I had them send it to Stephen, he's got video on his phone, he's not sure because of the video, but he said it might be somebody standing out there urinating. He couldn't really tell, but, I guess cause their back was to him, but you know, if we decide to have a hearing, then, I'll need to discuss with Stephen and see what's actually on the video that he received, you know. And I don't know that we all got to see that video, have to see it. I think that, him as a police officer, he can tell what he's seen, and, you know, if it becomes necessary to look at it, then I think so, but we can let him testify to what he sees on the video. So now, what do we want, so have we come to the conclusion that we want to set a hearing date, or do we want to, just, not acknowledge the complaints? I mean, it's the only two options you got.
I'm not just gonna ignore these folks. That
You
ain't
need
gonna
to set a
happen.
hearing date.
Yeah.
Okay, so, let's say a date, and then we'll, motion as to what the date is. Now, remember, we gotta send him a letter 5 days before, and we'll put in his letter, the nature of the complaints.
Are you asking for us to set a date?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, y'all all looking, if y'all confirm a date,
Which day is July the 5th? What about 2 weeks from tonight, the 19th?
I don't have a
That
problem
leaves
with
it
whatever
open
you
for
said.
2 weeks. I mean, him being open for this weekend and then the next weekend.
Now, I think they're having, now, they are supposed to have a dance or something up there, I think the 9th of July, which is, I think, this Saturday. So perhaps I'm gonna encourage the county and my police to kinda just observe this weekend when they're having it, to just see about how loud the music is and what they can hear. Now, it don't mean, I mean, it could be that just because they know that we're on video, so they're gonna know that we're gonna have them come by, so they might just keep the music down low that one night, I don't know, but anyway, do we have a date?
I can't be here the 19th.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm
Are you
pretty
gone that whole week,
No, just that day,
that day?
just different appointments. Jackson.
Doesn't matter. What's good for y'all? I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm pretty open.
What about, the 18th? Does that work for everyone? That's a
Monday
Monday.
the 18th.
I think that's
Yeah,
better than going to another week.
I do
I
too.
wouldn't go any further than that.
Is that good for you, Nathan?
What about you, Benita, the 18th?
Is that not the day of the bid opening?
Yeah, but
That'll be that afternoon,
that'll
though, right?
be that evening, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm good on the 18th.
The bid opening's gonna be the 18th, but that'll be in the morning time, more than likely.
Yes, Monday the 18th.
The 18th work for you, everybody?
I'm wide open.
Okay,
I'll
so,
make it work.
At 6 p.m.
at 6, is that what you gonna do at 6?
That's fine.
Okay, Benita, so we're gonna need to send, delivery of shed a letter, and we can have Stephen deliver it, we don't have to mail it, since he can deliver it, or we have to send a certified mail. But we need to type a letter, acknowledging that, there are complaints against the establishment, and that, they are noticed to appear before the Beer Board of Saltillo on July the 18th at 6:00 p.m. And then we'll need a list of complaints, which will be noise and stuff like that. So I'll go over that with you when you get ready. Okay, so,
We're on the beer board.
so is there, okay, so now we've set a hearing date, so we're gonna send a letter to the Little Red Shed, to the owners and let them know that the board has reviewed the complaints, feel that the complaints are valid, and that they will, do judgment or make a decision on July the 18th as to the outcome of the complaint. Okay? Okay, so now, don't forget, guys, put it on your agenda, the 18th at 6:00.
So the letter will go to the person whose name is on that beer license, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Okay, and just remember, guys, now I gave you some, with this, packet I gave y'all, it's got some confidential information in it, so you know you're all board members, so let's not discuss nothing about this until after the hearing, so that we don't, create more animosity than already is, okay? So, is there any other business that, needs to be discussed at this time, or do you have any other discussion pertaining to beer?
I don't have, I did forget something in the other meeting, but not, doesn't pertain to the beer board, but, I mean, so can I go ahead and say, there's like some overhanging trees that have gotten down pretty low, that are, some people just around town, you'll notice them coming through that, need to be trimmed, like, you know, I mean, I know, you know what I'm saying, they're hanging over the roads.
Where is that at?
Well, I've
There's
got
one on
about 3
Willis.
locations.
There's one on Willis, I believe that's, the sight distance you can't see up Highway
Right.
69.
And then, there's
One
one
on Riverview.
on, I'll get you, I can write it down, they just need to be trimmed so that it's not hitting the top of boats and stuff like that.
Well, what I'm gonna do is, once you give me and I know this is not pertaining to beer, but we're gonna discuss it anyway, once you give me a list of where they are.
Okay,
Now, are you saying people complain, or it's just something that the aldermen themselves want done?
I'm saying people are complaining.
Well, see, if they complain, they have to fill out a complaint form.
You wanna
But
fill out a
if-
complaint form for the overhanging tree?
Well, I'm saying if it's
Okay.
you recommending it, then that's a different story. You see, if you recommend it, we can still take care of it, cause you guys gonna be the one to vote to do it, you see. But a lot of time we come in, and what I'm trying to get away from, believe me, Alderman, is he said, she said, and all that, you know, they complaining, who is they? You know, if they got a complaint, file it, but if you see it and it need to be done, it's just as valid to me. You know, if you see it as an alderman and say, hey, Mayor, you know, we got some trees hanging down that's causing a problem, that's just as valid as people complaining, so. And actually, that's our job, so if you'll just give me the list of where you see them at, and you think they need to be trimmed, and what I'll do is I'll get around and look at them, and I'll get a couple of estimates on getting them trimmed, and then I'll get back with you guys and get it approved,
Okay.
okay?
T-Dot's doing that now.
On
They
the
come by
on the
our
state
house.
road.
On the
Yeah.
state
Yeah,
road.
on the state.
They don't do the
State
city
road.
Oh,
roads.
they won't come
No, no, no.
through this way?
They don't do
I know, we
city.
couldn't see Bingham Road, we had to take a chance, you just count 1, 2, 3, and then you
Go.
fly.
They clean them from my house, they'll do it too.
Yeah,
Okay, but, and I say to the alderman before we close too, since we're on that subject, anything that you see that's legit, that pertains, cause the people of Saltillo elected you guys as their representatives, so if you see something need done, just tell me it need done, and we'll see about getting it done, and you don't even have to say they complaining about it, it's just that you know it needs done, so let we get it done. Okay,
I just have one quick question about the beer board. Is Officer Graves and yourself going to be at the hearing that's gonna be on the 18th?
it's what now?
Officer Graves and yourself going to be present at the beer board on the 18th?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so both,
Well, I mean, I'll talk with Officer Graves.
well, I feel like it's imperative, cause he can speak, cause he was in the arbitration, so he can speak to what that was about and.
Well, I was here to
Well,
arbitrate.
right, that's
I
why,
can
that's
speak.
why I asked the
Yeah,
both of
if
you.
it's not necessary for him, I mean, what he can say, I can say,
We feel like it's necessary.
you know,
Our side,
yeah.
the complaint
If,
side.
only thing that, would be necessary for him to be here at the hearing is that I'm gonna ask him to make as many stops as he can over the period of time on the weekend between now and the hearing, to where he can kinda give us a idea of what his version of the story is, you know?
And I guess if he can't be here, I would recommend that you guys speak with him, because he was there and he heard the conversation between us, and I feel that's an important piece to this.
Between who?
Between the owners of the Little Red Shed and us, the complaints.
Well, the thing about it is, sir, is I was here when y'all was
Yes.
here, and Omi was here, and your wife was
Yes.
here, and there ain't really nothing that he can tell except that.
Well, there is. He literally, the owner of the Little Red Shed, like you expressed concerns about, you know, some type of he said, she said situation.
He's not
He,
the owner.
the owner of the Little Red Shed, validated and confirmed every complaint that we had from his own mouth with his own words. He
Well-
didn't dispute anything.
Well,
So that's why it's imperative you speak to him and yourself, because you guys were there, you heard it. You heard him validate everything
no, sir.
and confirm it.
That's not true.
That is true.
I heard him, he didn't validate the noise. He says that it ain't noise,
Okay.
that he keeps his jukebox down. But now he did validate that he had people in the business after 12:30 because they didn't have a ride, and we told him, well, it don't matter if they got a ride or not. The law says after 12:30, I mean, if they gotta leave walking, they got to go, you know? But now, as far as the noise ordinance, as far as the noise, of course, he discredits that, and as far as people urinating and drinking on his parking lot, he discredited that. That's why your wife walked out.
He didn't, he said, what am I supposed to do, knock on every window of every car? I can't control what goes on outside.
Well, now,
He
I
confirmed the
think,
guy running down Highway 69.
true that,
So
true that.
that's why it's important you guys talk with Officer Graves and even the mayor, because they were there at that meeting.
Well, what you guys are gonna do is you're going to, have the hearing. Omi will be, or whoever the real representative will be here, and they will, and, cause they've got your complaints, they've got everything that you told us, and they've got a narrative from the chief of police over here too, so they've got everything that's necessary for that. But, and you guys can make a decision, you know, if you wanna ask him, hey, I mean, if he acknowledged it then, I'm sure he'll acknowledge it to you guys, you know? But believe me, we're gonna be fair, we're gonna be just, we want you to have, peace and enjoy your home, and, but, you know,
And please tell us who to submit the videos to as well.
so what,
Please tell us who to submit the 2 videos we have as well.
police chief,
Police,
who
Roger.
you sent the last ones to him, right?
The one, but we never got confirmation of how good it was, so we'll just send both again.
Yeah,
To
well,
him.
he got it,
Okay.
yeah.
No,
got
he hasn't got the second one. 'cause
No, he
just-
hadn't got the
just
second
happened.
one, but he got the
Yeah.
first one, yeah, okay.
You
All
may
right.
have to have an interpreter, because Mr. Patel is not, Omi's not the owner, the father is.
Wait a minute now,
That's
the beer
not what-
license is
The
in
beer license
Omi and
is
his
Omi.
sister's name.
No.
Is that not right?
No, it's in a
it-
corporation.
It's in a corporation, that's right.
Well, it is in a corporation, that's right, but we put somebody's name on that beer license, right?
Right, I believe
Father.
it's, the father,
It's the
I
father.
believe, is the name on
Yes.
the beer license, so that's who we'll have to send the complaint to.
And we may have to have an interpreter, because he may not understand some of it, unless you want Omi or whoever to interpret for him.
Well,
Well,
we just,
since
when he,
Omi's on,
Omi is the
Omi's
manager.
the manager,
Right,
he would, the other man that's not ever there,
He
he
wouldn't
wouldn't be
know
able to
no way.
answer lots of questions
well,
anyway.
he's still the owner, I mean,
But he would
so you
have
might need to
to
have
show up.
the manager and the
yeah,
owner.
but he still gotta show up, cause.
Yeah,
his
he's
name
gotta
is-
show up, but
And then, I mean, he talked English when he was down here last time.
Omi spoke for him,
Oh, he did? I don't like it.
Well,
but I mean, I'm sure he's probably capable of, but Omi
Be
did
simple.
speaking for him.
But anyway, we'll send a letter, I mean, we'll notify Omi, but we'll send a letter to his daddy, it says, I mean, the corporation name, whatever it is, actually, we'll have Stephen deliver it. Okay, all right, so if there's no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the beer board meeting.
Okay, so July the 18th, 6 o'clock, meeting adjourned.
Yeah, well, that